Good Thursday morning. It's April 9th. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller, broadcasting from the 13 News Now studios in Southeast Virginia and Northeast North Carolina. You found us here at the weather desk, where each and every weekday morning, starting at 9, we give you a half an hour of today's top weather headlines. And we've got a show for you today that is packed with a lot of information. We're going to take a look at some of our headlines right now. Let's get into it. You know, we came through March. March was very, very warm. And in fact, it was the warmest March ever recorded across the lower 48. So our temperatures very warm here, and it's been a historically dry start to 2026, again, for the lower 48. So we're going to update you on the drought situation and talk about some big concerns out in Colorado and some other parts of the country where this is going to become a bigger story. It already is, but it's becoming an even bigger story as we look forward over the coming dry season. Taking a look, we also have something I'm really excited about. We've got a live interview, and we're going to talk with an expert about some of the lawn care things that you may want to take care of to get your yard in the best possible shape. Again, I know it's been dry. You'll see with the drought monitor which parts of Hampton Roads in Northeast North Carolina are under moderate drought, some areas under severe drought, with this new update that just came in about a half an hour ago. So we'll talk about all that and what you can expect moving forward. In addition, we've got Artemis II getting closer to that anticipated splashdown tomorrow evening, expected to be around 8 o'clock, a little bit after 8 o'clock East Coast time, 5 to 5:15 there on the West Coast. So we'll talk about the conditions there and how the astronauts are preparing for that splashdown. And then we have to talk about Hawaii. You remember in March, that was one area, while so much of us have been dry, March was a slamming wet month for Hawaii. They got hit with a Kona low and just a very wet weather pattern. There's another Kona low producing more flooding rain today across Hawaii, and we'll take you out there, show you that. In addition, we've got some information coming out of the Rochester, New York area on a landslide. It actually happened a couple days ago, but we've got some pictures to show you. And now there's some ongoing concerns and struggles about how they're going to deal with this and kind of clean it up and move on. We also have an update on the Outer Banks and the beach erosion concerns. Yesterday we had heavy surf. There was a lot of wind, and there are a few homes down towards Buxton, right along the National Seashore there, that are very close to falling in, and we'll give you an update on how things are looking at the Outer Banks. In addition, we've got the severe weather outlooks for the country. We're going to focus on Hampton Roads as well. Some really warm weather coming, some hot conditions across our area eventually. But let's start off, speaking of warm, you know, while we were chilly here yesterday, you might not have thought about it. Other parts of the country were certainly feeling more heat, and it's really what happened in March. It was the warmest March ever recorded across the lower 48 here in the United States, shattering a 132-year record. Now, according to NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, temperatures averaged more than 9 degrees above normal, with over half the country experiencing the single warmest March day on record. At the same time, the year is off to a historically dry start. The first 3 months of 2026 are now the driest on record nationwide, and with the drought expanding to almost 2/3 of the country. That, of course, includes parts of Colorado. And again, we're going to take a more detailed look at the drought outlook. But you can see the northwest part of Colorado, they are under exceptional drought. This is a huge problem. For the first time in more than 20 years, Denver Water is implementing a drought charge. Water utility officials in Denver declared a drought last month in the wake of historically low snowpack levels. Jennifer Meckles has the details.
So I think the state climatologist has said it best recently. It's now safe to conclude that this has been the worst year for Colorado snowpack in recorded history.
Denver Water already declared stage 1 drought, asking people to cut down their water use and stick to scheduled outdoor watering times. Now, customers could see the impact on their wallets.
I'm here today to ask for the approval of drought pricing starting on usage for May and billed on or after June 1st, based on each customer's billing cycle.
Drought
This
pricing
timing is
approved
aligned with
Wednesday
start
drives up rates on outdoor watering starting next month, an extra $1 or $2 for every 1,000 gallons. How much exactly? Depends on how much you use.
The purpose of drought pricing is to continue to signal that the more water that you use, the more you're going to pay.
The pricing does not change for indoor water use, drinking, cooking, bath water. But despite the price changes, Denver Water is asking everyone to try and find a way on their own to save water right now.
We're asking customers to cut their water use by 20% this year, and that includes indoor and outdoor water use. Outdoor water use is the easiest place to cut water use, to limit the days that you're watering, limit the amount of time, but at the same time, indoor water use matters just as much.
We all can make a difference as we manage our water. And again, out in Colorado, it's a big deal. I just wanted to show you around the Great Lakes region. They're okay. Soil moisture is ample. In fact, they've been dealing with flooding rains up around Grand Rapids, parts of Michigan into New York State. We'll have more on that in a little bit with a landslide up there near Rochester. Missouri, most of Missouri doing pretty good. You can see North Dakota, parts of South Dakota, okay. I will say more of California is starting to show up abnormal dry. There has been a little bit of relief down across parts of Texas. They've had some rain, but other areas still dealing with the exceptional drought. As I mentioned, that snow drought continues, and they've had the big issues here in the northwest part of Colorado. Very dry, extreme to now exceptional in the southeast part of Wyoming. We're seeing more extreme drought across portions of Nebraska and South Dakota. Farther to the south, some parts of Texas have had a little bit of relief, but still many areas in extreme, and there is some exceptional drought there in South Texas. This area here in Florida continues to be a big concern from basically the eastern part of the Panhandle through north central Florida, and then back up across southern Georgia. Exceptional drought there, extreme drought through much of Florida, and the drought continues farther to the north. I want to focus on Hampton Roads because I put out kind of the messaging, our drought information, not good. Okay, we're coming up on about a 3-inch rainfall deficit for the calendar year, but we're not concerned about just the calendar year. You take a look at months or even longer cycles of dry weather, and that leaves parts of the area under moderate drought. This includes all of the south side now, out through Isle of Wight, Suffolk, and back out through Southampton, the Franklin areas, all of northeast North Carolina, north of the Albemarle Sound, areas at the Outer Banks, and south of the Sound actually in severe drought. We're also seeing severe drought over western portions of Hertford, back out through Emporia, and we now have severe drought up in Accomack, northern Northampton, the Northern Neck, and parts of the Middle Peninsula. So the areas that were okay last week, the peninsula and out through Petersburg, that's now abnormal dry. Again, we are trending drier, and I will tell you, and we're going to get into the full forecast coming up, the coming week is going to be dry. There's no good chance for rain across the metro anytime soon. Probably through the middle to end of next week. Maybe the end of next week we get a chance. But for now, it is going to be a dry and increasingly warmer stretch of weather we have. Well, here in Virginia, now that we are starting to warm up, means you're probably starting to resume your yard work. Maybe you're thinking about getting out there and you need to make sure your lawnmower's ready to go. Maybe your lawn's not looking so good. Fixing winter-damaged lawns may require a lot of patience. And joining us this morning to talk about it, Michael Goatley, a turf grass extension specialist with Virginia Tech. Good to have you with us, Michael. Wow, what a winter. And how about, we were just talking about the drought numbers, so much of the country really having problems. What would you say to folks that are trying to kind of get their yard in shape?
I guess the first thing I'd say is good luck. But no, you're right. We follow up a crazy winter now with everything you just pointed out with the record heat in March, and now we're in this very dry period. So I tell people, use patience in terms of managing your lawns, ease them into this growing season, and we are certainly well ahead of where we should be. And pay attention to that water. It's not a bad thing that your lawns are on the dry side. Matter of fact, I'd like to see lawns more on the dry side to encourage those root systems to penetrate deeper into the soil profile. But if you did any spring seeding, those are things that you're going to have to pay attention to, and are probably going to require a little bit of supplemental water.
Man, it's such great information there. You know, as a homeowner, you try to stay up on the yard. There's really different things you need to do year round. I mean, a lot of the work you put in the fall pays dividends in the spring. If somebody is a new homeowner and maybe they've just come into a property, what are some of the important things folks can start to do now and as we go forward here in the coming weeks?
One of the first things to me is to get a soil test done. If you haven't had a soil test done in the last 3 to 4 years, you say, I don't know what that is. Well, this is a case I'm going to ask you to trust me. That might be the most important piece of information that you can have, because it's going to allow you to make informed decisions about, does this property need fertilizer? Does this property need lime? Because otherwise, we're taking a risk with the environment. We're also basically wasting money. And the second big thing would be, if you've already got a lawn, when's the last time that you sharpened your blade? I'm always amazed at most homeowners that tell me, geez, I didn't think about that. And I'm like, there's nothing that would immediately contribute to better lawn quality than to keep those blades sharpened. And most people simply just don't do that more than once a year. We tell people twice a year would be ideal. So those would be the two most important things that immediately pop to my mind.
Michael, you know, when I was a kid, and now I'm giving away my age a little bit here, we actually did have lawnmowers that would catch and bag, but that was the expectation. You always caught your clippings and, you know, bagged them up. And of course, more recently, a lot of folks have been going to mulching more. What advice would you have to, again, somebody that's just buying a house now? Do you recommend more mulching, or are there times that you want to mulch over bagging, or what advice would you have in general?
In general, I was raised the same way you were, a lot of bagging and piling. And hopefully these days, if you do that you're composting. But I'm a big proponent of don't bag it. Return those clippings to the lawn, because essentially the research has shown we can meet roughly a third of our seasonal fertility requirement by simply returning the clippings. So if you follow what we call the 1/3 rule of mowing, which means you never remove more than a third of the leaf blade, you'll always have this lawn that is going to have those leaf clippings being very rapidly degraded by those microbes that are there. And again, this is putting that organic material back to work for you, building up organic material in the soil, and also feeding the turf grass with what is basically controlled release fertilizer.
Yeah, that's great. So we came through the winter, and I love the fact that I have this access to ask you these questions. I'm excited, Michael. We come through the winter, really cold here in Hampton Roads for a couple of months early, but then we've had the recent warm-ups. Are there any common issues that you've seen as a result of the more recent conditions here in Virginia that are popping up, or is it just, you know, hey, we kind of deal with these things all the time? Have you seen anything unusual at all?
Yeah, Virginia being a transition zone state, we're always unusual, and you're all in one of the toughest spots in terms of growing grass. Here in the mountains, it's pretty standard that I'm a cool season grass recommendation guy. And over there in Hampton Roads, you got the possibility to grow 8 different grasses not very well. That's the challenge. So I tell people, if you haven't got green grass now, by this time with the warmth we've had, then you've probably got some issues. And I'd try to find out what those issues are. If you're not sure where to turn, remember that your local cooperative extension office has personnel and expertise there that can help you and help you make the decisions about, do I need to do this, or am I going to be okay if I'm patient?
Yeah, that is really interesting. And you say 8 different types of grasses. What do you think's like some of the most hardy stuff? Again, one of our producers was saying, we just bought this house. They're trying to bring back their lawn. She was asking, is there a particular type of grass that you would think might be a little bit hardier given kind of what we deal with here that you would recommend?
Well, in the types of warmth that we're having, the warm season grasses, things like Bermuda grass, zoysia grass, centipede, and St. Augustine all fit that climate very well. Of course, those grasses have basically a 4 to 5 month dormancy period. And in most people's minds, that's just, oh, we can't accept that for a lawn. And I'm like, well, that's just the way it is with those grasses to survive the winter extremes. But warm season grasses are much more drought hardy than our cool season grasses. In the cool season grass world, the best adapted grass in your all's area there of Hampton Roads is going to be turf type tall fescue. That'll have the deepest root system. When I pay visits to my colleagues and customers over there at that part of the state, I see a lot of turf type tall fescue lawns. And as long as you remember that that's a cool season grass that really likes more the fall and spring type conditions, you got to give it a little extra attention during the summer. It still remains a very solid choice.
All right. Currently, I just mentioned going back, I wanted to revisit the map here. We are in moderate drought. This is the brand new U.S. drought monitor, and even parts of the peninsula starting to show abnormal dry conditions. If we continue, like the next week or so, we're looking at dry conditions, and folks are wanting to see, do you recommend they hold off a little bit till we see a shift in the pattern, or you just get it in there and try to throw some water on it and stay on top of it as best you can?
I would try to hold off as long as possible. And again, the only issue that I might have would be, I mentioned earlier about seeding. If you've done spring seeding, especially of cool season grasses, it will germinate very quickly as the temperatures have risen, but then can we keep it alive? And that's always our trouble with spring seeding of cool season grasses, is we know that summer is coming and we've already got summer type conditions out there. So I would try to be patient. When you walk on those lawns, look for the clues of extreme wilt. One of those would be just footprinting. If you step on it and you look behind you and there's no evidence that there's any spring in that grass bouncing back, then that's probably a good indication. It might be time to give this lawn a drink. We tell people, think about maintenance irrigation as being deeply and infrequently. Don't go out there and run the irrigation system for 4 or 5 minutes and kind of train those roots to stay up near the top of the soil. We want to push those roots deeper into that soil profile.
Phenomenal information. I know you've got to go, and I believe you're going to be teaching a class here pretty quickly, so I will let you go. But before I do, Virginia Tech has a lot of awesome resources. Is there any place that you would direct our viewers to check out if they want more information?
Yeah, if you check the Virginia Cooperative Extension webpage, and basically you can just type that into your search engine and put in publications. I think most people, if you've never been there, you're going to be amazed at the diversity of publications from all areas, because our job is to serve the state of Virginia. And so lots of resources on the VCE Publications webpage.
Turfgrass Extension Specialist Michael, I'm going to call you the grass goat, the greatest of all time. Lots of great information, Mr. Goatley. Thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to turn our attention now to Artemis II. And man, what a time this has been as we get ready to go. The splashdown off the coast of California scheduled for tomorrow night. So we are getting ready. The crew is on their way back to Earth after completing a lunar flyby documenting the far side of the moon. This is a look at NASA preparing for the return. Conditions for the splashdown are very specific. Winds must be below 28.7 miles per hour. Wave heights under 6 feet. No rain or lightning can be detected within 30 miles of the site. And right now, things are looking good for the splashdown off the coast of California. Again, it's expected tomorrow night. And based on how things look right now, we should be in really good shape. Let's hope everything continues to go. We will, of course, keep you updated from the weather desk. All right, we're going to take a 2-minute break, but when we come back, Hawaii is bracing for another Kona low. There's been landslide, one in particular that threatens homes in New York, and even more oceanfront homes at risk of collapsing at the Outer Banks. That's all coming up with our outlook for Hampton Roads after this. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. We're glad you're here. Folks in Hawaii are bracing for more potential flooding rain. There's another area of low pressure, another coastal low that's been overwhelming the normal trade winds. It provides Hawaii with such great weather usually, and now this thing out ahead of it, we're seeing a flow of moisture coming in and producing very heavy rain across Hawaii. So they're getting hit, more severe weather. And remember, this system is coming after the islands are still recovering from back-to-back storms in March. Take a look. This is the aftermath from those storms last month, which was estimated to have cost more than $1 billion in damage. This next Kona low is bringing an atmospheric river to the islands. 3 to 6 inches of rain are possible with the islands of Oahu and Kauai. Expect they're going to get hit the hardest, and we're going to have to continue to watch this because it's not only today but also tomorrow. We'll be watching these areas very, very carefully. All right, we're going to come back to the lower 48, and we're going to zoom in this time up to New York State. Homeowners there near Rochester are dealing with the aftermath of a landslide. It's a result of severe weather that hit last Tuesday. More than a week later, residents are looking for ways to address this issue. Natalie Calzettoni reports.
Days after a landslide formed in the backyards of 2 homes on Carl Sam Drive in Irondequoit, neighbors are still searching for answers Monday.
Right now, we're just kind of trying to put the pressure on still, see who we can get to help.
David Stafford's next-door neighbors were forced to evacuate their home Thursday as the landslide caused by Tuesday's severe weather crept closer to their foundation. While Stafford says he and his wife are still in their home as of Monday, their land appears to be slowly sinking into the ravine.
Not getting much sleep. We're doing what we can to keep it positive. You guys know my wife's pregnant. We just got back from a prenatal appointment. We're really excited. Everybody's healthy. We want to keep it that way. After the baby's born, we want to keep them happy and safe in the backyard because we didn't want to move. But here we are, and we might not have a choice.
Stafford says the state deemed his land private property, and assistance offered from officials has been limited. He tells me his insurance does not cover land movement, and he is working to find other solutions.
We reached out to Sarah Clark's office. We reached out to John Perticone's office. He's been here quite a few times. Everybody's trying to do what they can to help.
After seeing news reports, David Pitt stopped by Monday to see Stafford's backyard and offer advice.
So I thought, could I help get a game plan together? You need the engineers, you need the town, you need everybody involved ultimately, but you need a plan.
Stafford tells me he is grateful for the support.
We're not trying to gain from this. We're just trying to be made whole with what we did have, or at least keep what we have now, and just take the stress away.
And how incredibly stressful for that young family, and think about his pregnant wife there, would be incredibly stressful. Hopefully we'll get a nice resolution, and again, our producers will keep an eye up to that story and hopefully have some kind of resolution. All right, we're going to turn our attention back to Cape Hatteras and Buxton. We've had our own issues here. Cape Hatteras National Seashore officials say the entire coastline in Buxton is closed. Dozens of homes on that stretch of beach collapsed over the last 5 years, and now there's a chance for strong winds and high surf and more coastal erosion, not only today, but into the weekend as well, and that could mean even more homes are at risk. Layla Cox is in Buxton, where preparations are underway.
The message in Buxton is clear: stay off the beach. Shorelines along east-facing beaches are closed because structures sitting in or near the ocean are considered unstable and could collapse without warning. An entire beach closed in Buxton Village. The Cape Hatteras National Seashore says dangerous weather conditions are expected throughout the week. Officials warn residents and visitors gusty winds up to 40 miles per hour, high surf advisories, and coastal erosion bring safety concerns for unstable oceanfront homes along the Outer Banks coast.
I've seen the beach change so drastically, Seems like it's pretty fragile.
Jamie Kreitzer is a spokesperson for the North Carolina Department of Transportation. Kreitzer tells 13 News Now travelers should not face any road impact or closures on NC 12. But to prepare for potential changes in the forecast, NC DOT crews are out to make sure major roadways stay clear.
Over the past 12 hours or so, using front-end loaders and other heavy equipment to push sand off of Highway 12.
In recent years, several oceanfront structures along the Outer Banks have fallen into the Atlantic Ocean. Now officials say there is another risk of more potentially collapsing this week as weather conditions worsen. That is why North Carolina agencies are urging residents and visitors like David Brown to stay off the beach and out of water near any oceanfront structures.
It's unfortunate that there's situations when the wind and the tide is just taking away the sand and knocking out houses. Same point, it is that it's the barrier island. Things change, the shoreline changes all the time.
In Buxton, Layla Cox, 13 News Now.
Now, I want to update you on the wind situation down along the Outer Banks. I will say the winds here in Hampton Roads lighter than they were yesterday. Our conditions actually improving with the lighter, still east-northeast wind, but it's not as strong as it was. At Hatteras, so we still have some winds in excess of 30 miles per hour. At least that's the potential, 30 to 35 mile per hour winds a little bit later this morning. Again, not as windy for Hampton Roads and for the northern Outer Banks, but farther south, Hatteras could still see some of those gusts. Yesterday, the winds were gusting upper 30s to near 40. As we take you forward in time, this is based on the European model. You can see tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., still gusts 25 to 30. And then things kind of die down for a little bit. But into Saturday, we're still looking at winds around 30 miles per hour. So not as bad as they were yesterday in the upper 30s to near 40, but there's still a decent amount of wave action and some surf, and beach erosion. So we're going to continue to monitor that. And again, that's one of those stories that our entire news team here at 13 News Now is following closely. Obviously, Layla spent some time down there yesterday, and we'll continue to follow that one as well. Across the country, not a lot of activity. Some rain showers back across Michigan. You could see Chicago seeing a few showers this morning. Looking back across Nebraska and Kansas, some showers right now. Nothing severe yet, but with this frontal boundary kind of draped across the area, there is the potential. There's a level 2 threat for severe weather. This is, again, a slight risk. You've got the marginal risk, level 1 in green, and that includes Kansas City. North of that, up towards St. Joe's, they do have a slight risk, a level 2 that extends back across northern Kansas and towards Hays, Kansas. And then down to the south, that level 1 risk down through Amarillo and Guymon in Oklahoma. As we take a closer look, this is a tornadic potential. There is a slightly elevated risk for tornadoes, and if we do get anything developing in these areas, Powhatan, you can see St. Joseph, as I mentioned, Falls City, back over through Alexandria and Superior, some of these different areas back in the Midwest, Manhattan, Kansas, K-State located there. There could be maybe a stronger tornado or two in the mix, EF2 or greater. Wind threat is also elevated. They've got a level 2 wind threat, and hail. You could see some isolated areas with some larger hail, 2-inch diameter or greater. Looking ahead to Friday, level 1 threat from Springfield, Missouri through Wichita, just north of Oklahoma City and out towards Amarillo. Again, Guymon, the panhandles there of Texas and Oklahoma under that threat. Just strong winds and hail, tornadic threat, not as great right now. I wanted to show you Saturday, there's a level 2 threat, again, for parts of central and west central Texas, just to give you some of the areas under this elevated risk. Amarillo over to Childress, Lubbock, back over towards Clovis, and then down to the south from Midland through Sonora, Del Rio, San Angelo, these areas all under this. You'll note San Antonio outside the severe weather threat. Same thing for Dallas and Fort Worth and Houston. They're in better shape. Rain, excessive rain could be an issue later today from northeast Kansas across northwest Missouri, southern Iowa, and northern Illinois. So we're going to see chances for rain elevated there. Hampton Roads, I mentioned how dry it is. It's going to continue to be very dry over the coming week. There's just no real good chance for rain anytime soon. Temperatures are going to be trending up. It's a very straightforward forecast. Temperatures today, we're going to see our highs in the upper 50s to near 60. Tomorrow, upper 60s to near 70, low 70s Saturday, Sunday, back up into the 80s Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and near 90 on Thursday. Temperatures start to trend back down after that. Just wanted to show you the super extended outlook here. Again, wetter than normal in the north central U.S. and the west coast starts to see some more rain out that way. Looks like some more rain across parts of Texas. Again, that will help with their drought situation. But that other area, so dry back in the southeast, they desperately need some rain, and it looks like they're going to be dry looking out 8 to 14 days and more heat. That continues to be a big story as well. All right, so the forecast for Hampton Roads, we're going to see partly to mostly sunny skies today. Again, upper 50s, low to mid 60s inland. Tomorrow, upper 60s, low 70s inland, and then lower 70s Saturday, Sunday. The heat builds after that. A lot that we had to go. We ran a little long with today's show. I hope you've enjoyed it. Want to remind you can always stay in touch with our forecasts and our news, weather, and traffic updates through the 13 News Now mobile app. Scan that QR code on the screen. You can download the app. It's free on the App Store and Google Play. What a busy show today, and we're going to have more coming up tomorrow. Again, we do it each and every weekday morning starting at 9 from our 13 News Now studios. Thank you for joining us. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. Have a good one.